Hello, Nightlings. Today I'm going to be reading public domain books. But there's a catch. I'm going to be reading it in weird voices. This is going to be for Halloween, and I'm just going to call it Mondays with Zach, because I can, and you can't judge me. You can't say otherwise, because I don't care about your opinion. Okay. You got that. Okay. Good. This. Somebody commented on my video. I'm famous. I'm so famous. I wish I was famous. That would be awesome. I wish I could have subscribers that actually liked my content. My intro. I need an intro. Ugh. I need, like, besides hello, Nightlings, because I sound like a freaking robot. Okay, anyways, let's get to the point here. I'm gonna need to look for a thumbnail. Public domain books. I changed the angle of my camera, so now you can, like, see my... see this. Oh, and I have a Doctor Who poster, but I can't put it up on the wall yet, because I need poster strips. One moment. This is from my grandmother. It says, keep calm, I'm the doctor. For you guys, like, I can't even hold it straight. And then let me fold it back up. We'll throw that onto my thing. Yeah, just leave that be. Ooh. Save image as. Save it. I shouldn't be doing this in the video. So you guys get to see what the heck I do for a living. And it's not fun at all. Books. Oh, I need to get Photoshop or something. This. Okay. So we're gonna start. I'll put a link to the book if you want to read it. Yeah. In the description I'll put the link. Okay, let's start. Civilization. Okay, yeah. Civilization, I apprehend, is nearly synonymous with order. However much we may differ, touching such matters as the distribution of property, the domestic relations. Sorry, I had to pause it. Where was I? The domestic relations, the law of inheritance, and the like. Most of us, I should suppose, would agree that without order, civilization, as we understand it, cannot exist. Now, although the optimist contends that, since every man cannot foresee the future, worry about the future is futile, and that everything, in the best possible of worlds, is inevitably for the best. I think it clear that within recent years, and as even this suspicion has come into being that the principle of authority has dangerously impaired, and that the social system, if it is to cohere, must be reorganized. So far as my observations have extended, such intuitions are usually not... I just changed many accents. This went from one accent to multiple. Okay, and let's keep going. And not... so far as my observations, such intuitions are usually not without an active cause. And if there be reasons for anxiety anywhere, it surely would not be in the United States. With its unwieldy bulk, its heterogeneous population, and its complex government. Therefore, I must admit that an hour may not be quite wasted, which is which passed in considering some of the most recent phenomena which have appeared about us, in order to ascertain if they can be grouped together in any comprehensible relation. Okay, I'm going to change the thing now. My voice. I haven't hurt my throat. Okay, hold on. Okay, my throat still hurts, but whatever. About a century ago, after the American and French revolutions and the Napoleonic Wars, the present industrial era opened and brought with it a new governing class. As every considerable change in human environment must bring it with it a governing class to give it expression. Perhaps for lack of a recognized name, I may describe this class as the industrial capitalistic class, composed in the main of administrators and bankers. As nothing in the universe is stationary, ruling classes have their rise, culmination, and decline, and I conjecture that this class attained to its acme of popularity and power, at least in America, toward the close of the third quarter of the 19th century. I draw this inference from the fact that in the next quarter, resistance to capitalistic methods began to take shape in such legislations as the Interstate Commerce Law and the Sherman Act, and almost at the opening of the present century, a progressively rigorous opposition found for its mouthpiece the President of the Union himself. History may not be a very practical study, but it teaches some useful lessons, one of which is that nothing is accidental, and that if men move in a given direction, they do so in obedience to an impulsion as automatic as is the impulsion of gratitude. Therefore, if Mr. Roosevelt became what his adversaries are pleased to call an agitator, his agitator had a cause which is as deserving of study as is the past of a cyclone. I can't even fucking speak. This problem has long interested me, and I harbor no doubt that not only that equilibrium of society is very rapidly shifting. I went to a Scottish accent. But that Mr. Roosevelt has, half automatically, been stimulated by the instability about him to seek for a new centre of social gravity. In plain English, I infer that he has concluded that industrialism has induced conditions which can no longer be controlled by the old capitalistic methods, and that the country must be brought to a level of administrative efficiency competent to deal with the strains and stresses of the 20th century. Just as 125 years ago, the country was brought to an administrative level, I keep spitting, competent for that age, by the adoption of the Constitution, acting on this premises, as I conjecture, whether consciously worked out or not. Mr. Roosevelt's next step was to begin the readjustment, but infer that on attempting any correlated measures of reform, Mr. Roosevelt found progress impossible because of the obstruction of the courts. Hence has instinct led him to try to overleap that obstruction, and he suggested, without, I suspect, examining the problem very deeply, that the people should assume the right of recalling judicial decisions made in causes which involved the nullifying of legislation. What would have happened had Mr. Roosevelt have been given the opportunity to thoroughly formulate his ideas, even in the midst of an election, can never be known, for it chanced that he was forced to deal with subjects as vast and complex as ever vexed a statesman or a jurist. Their difficulties is at least equal to the difficulties of the task itself. Oh my god. Wait, I lost my place. It's If the modern mind has developed one characteristic more markedly than another, it is an impatient with prolonged demand on its attention, especially if the subject be tedious. No one could imagine that the New York press of today would print the disquisitions which Hamilton wrote in 1788 in support of the Constitution, or that, if it did, anyone would read them. Least of all the lawyers, and yet Mr. Roosevelt's audience was emotional and discursive, even for a modern American audience. Hence, if he attempted to lead at all, he had little choice but to adopt, or at least discuss, every nostrum for reaching an immediate millennium, which happened to be uppermost, although at the same time he had to defend himself against an attack compared with which any criticism to which Hamilton he may have been subjected oh gosh. The result has been that the progressive movement, bearing Mr. Roosevelt with it, has degenerated into a disintegrating rather than a constructive energy, which is, I suspect, likely to become a danger to everyone interested in the maintenance of order, not to say in the stability of property. Mr. Roosevelt is admittedly a strong and determined man, whose instinct is arbitrary, and yet, if my analysis be sound, we see him at the supreme moment of his life, diverted from his chosen path towards centralization of power, and projected into an environment of, apparently for the most part, philanthropists and women, who could hardly conceivably form a party fit to aid him in establishing a vigorous, consolidated administrative system. He must have found the press it holds disintegration resistless, and if we consider this most significant phenomenon in connection with an abundance of similar phenomenon in other countries which indicate social incoherence, we can hardly resist a growing apprehension toward the future, touching the future. Nor is that apprehension allayeth. To reassure ourselves, we turn to history, for there we find on every long series of precedents more ominous still. Okay, I can read 2 more, and then I'm gonna end this video because I'm already at 12 minutes. Okay,
Were all evidence lacking, the inference that radical changes are at hand might be deduced from the past. In the experience of the English-speaking race, about once in every 3 generations a social convulsion has occurred, and probably such catastrophes must continue to occur in order that laws and institutions may be adapted to physical growth. Human society is a living organism working mechanically like any other organism. It has members, a circulation, a nervous system, and a sort of skin or envelope consisting of its laws and intuitions. Oh my god. This skin or envelope, however, does not expand automatically, as it would have Providence intended humanity to be peaceful, but it is only fitted to new conditions by those painful and conscious efforts which we call revolution.
give me a minute.
Usually these revolutions are warlike, but sometimes they are benign, as was the revolution over which General Washington, a first great progressive, presided. When the rotting Confederation, under his guidance, was converted into a relatively excellent administrative system by the adoption of the... Oh my god!
By the adoption of the constitutions. Oh god. My throat hurts! It hurts! Taken for all in all, I conceive General Washington to have been the greatest man of the 18th century. But to me, his greatness in that balance of mind, which enabled him to recognize when an old order had passed away, and to perceive how a new order could be best introduced. Joseph Story was 10 years old in 1789 when the Constitution was adopted. His earliest impressions, therefore, were of the Confederation, and I know no better description of the interval just subsequent to the peace of 1783 than is contained in a few lines in his dissenting opinion in the Charles River Bridge case. Okay, I'm gonna have to finish this some other time, so see ya in the next video. Goodbye, Nightlings.